The nightmare began when humanity's greatest heroes fell like flies. In that instant, a mysterious army of invaders suddenly appeared to destroy everything. The ultimate force, known as the Nine Stars, was utterly helpless. But the real danger was, bodies littered the battlefield as the end of days approached. Only 2 warriors remained standing among the ruins of civilization. Xenon, the 9-star sacred swordsman, refused to let it end. But his companion Eels knew the truth. They were doomed. But then, their friends, the Prophet and the Summoner, had already perished. Xenon gripped his blade, preparing for one final, desperate gamble. In a shocking twist, he asked Eels to focus everything on supporting his last strike. The enemy leader stood like a mountain of dark steel. "I'm going to land a single strike on that guy." But the real danger was, Eels warned him that even together, they couldn't win. In that instant, but Xenon's resolve was harder than any armor or magic. Suddenly, a blinding aura of sacred light filled the sky. But what he didn't know was, he unleashed the forbidden 9th form, the Divine Light Blade. In a shocking twist, but that wasn't enough to stop the impending darkness. That's when he triggered the 10th form, Lifelike Consecration! He was burning his very soul for a moment of power. Eels watched in horror as his body began to crumble. Like a shooting star, he launched himself at the Titan. But fate had other plans. The world shook as the 2 forces finally collided. Dust and blood sprayed everywhere in a chaotic explosion. Was this the strike that would save the human race? Then everything changed when the silence that followed was more terrifying than the battle. As the smoke cleared, the monster still stood perfectly still. In that instant, Xenon's sword was shattered and his strength was gone. He coughed up blood, his organs failing from the strain. And then, without explanation, "Not yet!" he screamed, trying to force his broken legs. But the invader was already raising its massive dark blade. But then, death was coming for them both, or so it seemed. Without warning, suddenly, Els stepped forward with a strange look in her eyes. Without warning, she cast a spell directly on her ally. "Light prison!" she shouted, binding Xenon to the spot. But what he didn't know was, he struggled, confused why his comrade would betray him now. "You are our final hope," she whispered through her tears. What happened next shocked everyone. She pulled out an ancient, golden artifact from her robes. It was a mystic pocket watch passed down for generations, a tool of the gods with the power to alter reality. What happened next shocked everyone, but the cost of using it was more than any mortal. But fate had other plans. The giant's blade swung down to end their lives forever. Els didn't flinch as she began the forbidden activation ritual. She made him promise to never let these monsters win again. The watch began to glow with a divine, cosmic energy. "I leave this world in your hands, Xenon," she cried. A pillar of light erupted, swallowing the dying swordsman whole. But then, the invader's strike hit only empty air and broken ground. What they saw made them freeze. Els fell to the earth, her life force completely drained away. Xenon felt himself drifting through the endless voids of time. He was being sent back to start his life over again. Her final wish was to win his heart in the past. Just when things seemed safe, their story was over, but that was just the beginning. The story begins at a massive, sunlit estate. A young man wakes up with a throbbing headache. This room is far too grand for a commoner. Something is very wrong here. Suddenly, a worried maid rushes to his side. He demands a weapon to rejoin the front lines, but she calls him Master Noah instead. He stares at his own hands in disbelief. This is definitely not his original body. Was he possessed by a complete stranger? His confusion only grows deeper by the second. The poor maid fears he is deathly ill. "Just give me the truth right now! He is the 4th son of the Daskor family!" The current year leaves him completely stunned. Was it the work of that mysterious magic tool? He has regressed back 10 years into the past. Now he lives among his ancient, bitter enemies. This house is famous for its wicked magic swordsmen. Another servant enters the room with a tray. She brings a bowl of dark, steaming medicine. Apparently, his brother Scar is very concerned. Noah eyes the liquid with intense suspicion. He senses a hidden danger within the brew. With a sharp move, he shatters the bowl. Heavy footsteps echo through the cold, silent chamber. Suddenly, several mysterious men confront the boy with fake politeness. They claim the shattering sound brought them to his door. But Noah watches them through narrowed, suspicious eyes. The leader glares at the spilled liquid on the floor. Noah mocks their fake concern with a cold, sharp laugh. He dares them to drink the toxic brew themselves. His sacred core confirms the dark truth. It is pure poison. But soon, the leader threatens to use brute force. Noah smiles as their deceptive masks finally crumble away. He stands ready to test the limits of his new body. A dangerous grin spreads across the young swordsman's face. The order is given to pin the young master down. In the next moment, the guards rush in to strike. A guard reaches out to grab his target. Suddenly, Noah launches a devastating lightning-fast kick. The guard is sent flying backward with a brutal impact. Noah skillfully ducks under a desperate punch. He counters with a strike that echoes through the room. The attackers groan in pain, unable to believe his strength. Was it enough? Noah feels frustrated by his lack of power. The desperate leader demands his men finish the job quickly. Suddenly, a strange glowing light flickers before Noah's eyes. Glowing blue status windows appear above his enemies. At last, a legendary appraisal skill awakens within him. He gazed at the pathetic status screen before his eyes. A 1-star recruit's body was all he had to work with. Suddenly, the guards lunged forward with their blades bared. He tracked their movements with cold, calculating precision. With a sharp crack, he sent the first attacker flying backward. His fingers tightened around a cold steel hilt. Another massive sword came crashing down toward his skull. But the heavy blade shattered against his sheer will. Was this really the power of a sickly young master? The maids watched in horror as the room turned into chaos. From the shadows, the true mastermind finally decided to speak. Suddenly, a sharp, burning pain flared deep within his chest. Dark, malevolent smoke began to pour out from his very soul. This was the demonic core, the root of his family's power. But another power existed, the radiant, shimmering, holy core. These two clashing forces should never exist in one man. His brother mocked him, thinking his life was finally over. That bitter medicine was actually a lethal dose of poison. It was designed to trigger a violent, uncontrollable demonic rampage. Could his body survive the explosion? He had to gamble. He forced the holy light to suppress the darkness within. Against all odds, the legendary swordsman stood his ground once more. The enemy snarled, preparing his deadliest abyssal sword technique. A vortex of blood-red energy threatened to consume the entire room. But Greg didn't flinch as the void came screaming toward him. Their blades collided with an ear-shattering crack. Oscar smirked, thinking he finally had the upper hand. Suddenly, a system window revealed Oscar's true, mediocre power level. But Greg simply stared back with cold, unwavering eyes. The young hero unleashed a devastating golden arc. Oscar roared, swinging his blade with murderous intent. Their opposing energies exploded in a violent display of light. But the villain refused to back down just yet. Suddenly, Greg's sword moved like lightning across the room. Oscar retreated as the golden pressure began to overwhelm him. Greg analyzed the hidden secrets of the void shift. Oscar mocked him, boasting about his superior demonic strength. But Greg only gave him a chilling, confident smile. Suddenly, the hallway turned blood red as Oscar lunged forward. He screamed that his technique was impossible to read. But Greg moved like a ghost through the crimson fog. Panicked maids watched as the room filled with killing intent. Greg focused his dual energies into a single point. He found the opening and struck with perfect, lethal precision. A massive blast of dark energy consumed the entire area. Suddenly, Oscar collapsed, coughing up blood onto the floor. Greg stood over him, radiating a terrifying, divine presence. The defeated warrior trembled, unable to grasp his own failure. Greg admitted even he didn't fully understand this power, but soon he felt the holy and demonic cores merge. He realized this combination was his ultimate weapon. With this power, saving the world was finally possible. Thoughts of Eras provided a small ray of hope. Suddenly, worried maids rushed in to check his condition. But a strange visitor appeared right outside the window. A tiny dragon hovered there, holding a sealed envelope. It was a formal summons from the patriarch, Lord Victor. The letter mentioned the family's deadly war of succession. Noah stared at the paper, contemplating the family's secrets. He asked the maids if they knew about the war. They confirmed that everyone serving the family knew everything. This conflict was designed to forge an unyielding family legacy. He learned that siblings must battle for supremacy. The victor simply claims the loser's core for themselves. Little information existed because they were busy killing each other. Was he truly prepared to join this horrific game? His expression hardened with cold and lethal determination. Long ago, the public viewed his holy power with reverence. Now, he was part of a clan feared for demonic strength. Their leader, Victor, remained the world's strongest swordsman. Noah eventually stood before the massive gates of power. He would see this mysterious place with his own eyes. The doors opened as he stepped into his new life. He offered a respectful bow to the waiting family members. Damien Dascour, the eldest son, watched him with cold eyes. The elegant Julia Dascour stepped forward with a sharp gaze. Beside her stood the stoic second son, Cease Dascour. Even the second daughter, Eve, joined this tense family gathering. Suddenly, Noah spotted his enemy. It was Scar, the brother who had poisoned him before. Julia noted the rumors of Noah's recovery were finally true, but she did not expect his sudden training plans. Her eyes narrowed, searching for any sign of weakness. Scar scoffed, mocking the weakling's pathetic effort. Noah fired back, calling him a pathetic coward. Scar was absolutely furious. However, Eve quickly silenced them both with a cold command. Suddenly, Lord Victor arrived. A heavy footstep echoed. The eldest siblings bowed their heads in deep silence. The rest followed suit, acknowledging his overwhelming power. Noah felt an intense pressure weighing on his soul. Before him stood the legend from his past life. Victor Dascour, humanity's strongest swordsman, finally revealed his face. He declared the council had officially begun. The grand throne room became a stage for tension. Noah stood tall, facing the patriarch without any fear. Victor asked what Noah intended to do next. A daring smirk spread across Noah's face. He will stand at the very top. The great hall fell into a chilling silence. Noah clenched his fist against his father's suffocating pressure. Suddenly, he declared war against every single person present. His older siblings watched with cold, calculating gazes. The younger candidates trembled under the weight of his words. But Noah included his own father in that deadly list. A daring smirk played across the young son's face. A dark, heavy mana began to fill the room. Victor unleashed a terrifying surge of purple demonic energy. The sheer force of the power made Noah grit his teeth. His father asked if he truly intended to surpass him. Without a hint of hesitation, Noah simply answered yes. The head of the family questioned his hunger for power. He wanted strength, so nothing could ever be stolen again. Surprisingly, the patriarch burst into a wicked, prideful grin. He approved of his son's newfound ruthless ambition. In the next moment, the succession struggle officially began. Every sibling reacted with shock, envy, or pure rage. His father roared for him to become ravenous for strength. But soon, a quiet morning dawned over the family estate. A wooden sword cut through the air with lethal precision. Noah pushed his body to its absolute limits during training. His physical condition was improving, but it wasn't enough yet. The strange, mixed core felt volatile inside his chest. He wondered what this mysterious power would eventually become. He realized the danger of exposing his true, divine strength. Suddenly, Sister Julia appeared, her gaze piercing through his calm facade. She knew their father's favor was shifting toward the youngest son. She stepped forward, demanding a demonstration of his newfound skills. Reached for a wooden sword, her intentions becoming terrifyingly clear. Without warning, she lunged, forcing him to react or be crushed. The air whistled as her blade nearly struck his startled face. Did he really think this meeting was for simple family small talk? He gritted his teeth, feeling the immense weight of her presence. Their training swords collided, echoing across the silent, empty courtyard grounds. Perfect. Now he could test his limits against a true master. But Julia was a wall, blocking every desperate strike with ease. Her footwork was flawless, shifting like water across the stone floor. She surged forward like a predatory hawk hunting its prey. To her, his current efforts were nothing more than a disappointment. She questioned if this was the limit of his much-praised potential. He realized she had already reached the legendary 7-star domain level, but soon she swung again, dismissing his struggle as utterly pathetic. Her movements were too fast for his eyes to follow properly. Suddenly, his core vibrated, releasing a surge of unstable, violet energy. The wooden blade sparked, caught in a violent, supernatural power struggle. Was this the true power of the holy demonic core awakening? An explosion of light erupted as their spirits finally crashed together. She marveled at the core that everyone once labeled a failure. Yet, the legend of his weakness still haunted her skeptical mind. Noah realized his body held a holy demonic core. This secret power meant he could fight without any issues. Suddenly, he challenged her. He lunged forward with his wooden blade. But soon, she evaded his strike with eerie grace. She asked if he knew the family's dark purpose. "The struggle creates the strongest person," she whispered. Suddenly, his training sword snapped. A horrific crimson aura exploded from her frame. Noah froze as the air grew heavy with murderous intent. He shouted for Selena to bring his real blade. His black sword soared through the air. Noah caught the weapon and unleashed his purple mana. Their powers collided, but his sister's strength was far greater than expected. Suddenly, she landed a brutal kick to his chest. Noah gritted his teeth and refused to fall. She chuckled at his impressive progress. "Show me more!" she screamed with excitement. They stood apart as the atmosphere crackled. She unleashed her terrifying shadow flame sword dance. Noah realized this strike could end his life. Suddenly, she transformed into a bird of dark fire. Their blades met in a devastating explosion. The nearby maids watched in horror as everything crumbled. The man taunted his foe for using only one hand. She dared him to force her into a real fight. Suddenly, their deadly blades collided with a deafening, violent crash. He swung his heavy sword down with crushing power, but she blocked the strike, sending bright sparks flying everywhere. He smirked because she finally chose to use both hands. In the next moment, the shockwave sent him spinning backwards. He gritted his teeth against the overwhelming, suffocating pressure. He stabbed his blade deep into the shattered ground. But soon, she watched him like a predator stalking prey. He realized his core was pushed to its absolute limit. His trembling hands gripped the cold hilt tighter than before. This was the true breaking point of his demonic power. She questioned why they should hesitate to end this now, explained the dark secret behind harvesting powerful cores. Weak cores were useless, but his had grown remarkably fast. Dark energy erupted around her, swirling like a demonic storm. Her eyes glowed crimson with a newfound terrifying bloodlust. He stood frozen, sensing she intended to kill him here. Suddenly, she leaped high into the air for a strike. But a booming voice commanded the violent battle to stop. A loyal knight rushed in, blocking the lady's lethal blade. He warned that any further would result in certain death. She argued that this was a necessary struggle for dominance. In the next moment, the truth left her completely stunned. The investigator revealed a shocking report. Apparently, Noah's demonic core was already completely exhausted. She wondered how a weak core survived that level. Noah gripped his sword despite the immense pressure. Suddenly, the woman admitted her initial assessment was wrong. But her eyes still hungered for his powerful core. She challenged him to a serious fight in the future. Noah grinned, accepting the dangerous invitation with pride. She turned away with deep suspicion. That strike definitely exceeded his supposed rank. In the next moment, she knew he was hiding secrets. She laughed, hoping his growth would stay interesting. Elsewhere, furious screams echoed throughout the grand estate. A pathetic loser sobbed while being utterly humiliated. How could such trash enter the succession struggle? His brother roared in a jealous rage. The servant pleaded, but his master was beyond reason. Tension filled the room as the atmosphere turned cold. A wicked smile spread across the rival's face. He vowed to drag Noah down into the dirt. Back at the mansion, a new face arrived suddenly. This man was Kyle. Noah's newly appointed instructor. He was sent to bridge the gap in Noah's training. Noah immediately activated his appraisal skill on the man. Was he strong? His stats were absolutely incredible. A knight approached with an urgent message in his hand. He delivered secret orders directly from the powerful Lord Victor. The mission was to investigate a deadly and mysterious miasma pool. These zones spawned terrifying monsters that brought nothing but total ruin. A dark and knowing smirk crossed the boy's face. He realized this dangerous situation was actually a perfect opportunity. He tightened his grip on his weapon with cold, steady resolve. Nearby, arrogant knights whispered insults about his low-ranking status. They questioned why their master would trust someone so seemingly weak. Suddenly, a frantic voice cut through the dense and silent forest. In the clearing, several young children lay scattered and completely unconscious. The group stared down in horror at the tragic, mysterious sight. But time was fading fast as the miasma continued to spread. They decided to carry the children deeper into the dark woods. Thick purple smoke began to choke the very air around them. Something massive lurked above, hidden within the ancient, twisted trees. The atmosphere turned heavy as the ground began to shake. A giant, monstrous scorpion emerged from the shadows to hunt them. Its armor was thick enough to deflect even the strongest blades. The creature raised a lethal stinger dripping with potent, deadly poison. Noah shouted a warning just as the beast lunged at them. Suddenly, the earth exploded from a single, thunderous and violent strike. The knights crumbled under the sheer weight of its incredible speed, but Noah didn't back down as he charged the massive beast. Was he truly just weak? The real battle finally began. Noah lunged forward with explosive power. Suddenly, a massive pincer snapped toward his throat. He parried the heavy blow with clinical precision. The soldiers watched in utter disbelief as he stood firm. The beast sprayed a lethal green mist everywhere. Noah twisted his body midair to escape the burning acid. The deadly stinger vibrated, preparing for a killing strike. A red beam of pure destruction tore through the air. His eyes burned with the intensity of 1,000 suns. He unleashed a terrifying slash that split the very ground. How could his swordsmanship be this flawless already? Suddenly, the severed stinger began to pulsate and grow back. It lunged again, faster than any human eye could follow. Noah braced himself against the relentless, crushing weight. His grip tightened until his knuckles turned ghostly white. He leaped high above the creature's armored shell. Sparks erupted as steel met the monster's impenetrable hide. The friction screamed while their powers collided in a flash. This monster was far stronger than he originally anticipated. Where did he learn such divine techniques without a master? He shouted for Kyle to join the fray. Could they create the tiny opening needed for victory? The scorpion turned its lethal attention toward the seasoned soldier. Kyle roared, refusing to be outdone by a mere boy. He stood his ground as the ultimate clash finally erupted. Jin blurred into a streak of purple light. He swung his blade against the beast's massive metallic hide. Sparks flew as his boots scraped across the uneven ground. He tightened his grip on a specialized hunting tool. Suddenly, he unleashed a strike with overwhelming, crushing force. The sharp spike pierced the creature's thick armor, causing cracks. He stood triumphantly atop the writhing, mountain-sized monster, but the creature lashed out with its razor-sharp pincers. Its massive tail swung through the air like a deadly whip. Jin revealed his secret weapon, fangs from a previous kill. He explained that spider poison would soften the beast's shell. His companion stared in absolute disbelief at the clever plan. Suddenly, the monster's many eyes glowed with a malevolent red. It slammed its heavy tail down, seeking to crush them. High above, a glowing green magic circle instantly appeared. The duo prepared for the incoming rain of magic arrows. A dark, demonic barrier erupted to shield them from impact. Meanwhile, the small fragment remained buried deep in the earth. Jin smirked, knowing the perfect moment had finally arrived. He launched himself high into the air with incredible speed. The swordsman spun like a lethal hurricane of purple energy. He deftly evaded the scorpion's frantic, desperate counterattacks. He descended from the heavens like a bolt of lightning. A fleeting memory of his past teacher crossed his mind. Jin channeled every ounce of mana into one final, deciding blow. He unleashed the devastating demonic saint style. "Light shadow sword dance!" He roared with pure intensity. He descended upon the beast like a falling star. Suddenly, the blade pierced through its thick, armored shell. The massive creature shattered into 1,000 bloody pieces. His men stood frozen, unable to believe his power. But Jin knew his technique still lacked true perfection. He ordered the soldiers to handle the messy cleanup. "Where to?" they asked, but he offered only a smile. He vanished into the thick shadows of the forest alone. In this era, the secret of miasma remained a mystery. But he remembered the cursed tool hidden within the darkness. He stopped before a massive, ancient tree pulsing with energy. With one clean strike, he carved into the weathered bark. There it was, a silver ring shimmering with forbidden magic. "Found it," he whispered, a cold smirk crossing his face. This artifact would change the course of his entire journey. But suddenly, a chilling scream echoed through the damp woods. He turned back, his heart racing against the rising panic. His brave soldiers lay fallen, choked by a toxic fog. "Lord Noah, the monsters are everywhere!" a survivor cried out. Jin gripped his sword, his eyes glowing with renewed fury. Towering orcs emerged from the mist, hunger in their eyes. Massive scorpions scuttled forward, pincers snapping in the gloom. They were surrounded, trapped by an army of nightmares. Noah stood firm as the mana surged around him. His soldiers screamed for help against the swarming monsters. Suddenly, a blade struck true, igniting a glimmer of hope. "Buy me some time," he commanded with authority. "But look at this poor child, bound by a cruel device." It was a mana-draining tool from his dark, previous life. Lord Noah, can they truly withstand this endless nightmare? He focused his demonic core to pierce the deception. The sinister ring pulsed, leaking a trail of foul energy. He closed his eyes to sense the invisible threads of magic. Deep within the shadows, a hidden killer watched and waited. "Found you," he whispered, eyes flashing with purple lightning. "Protect the children while I hunt this coward down." He tore through the beasts like a whirlwind of death. But soon, he was sprinting toward the real threat. He moved like a blur through the dense, twisted trees. His feet struck the ground with explosive, crushing power. "Show yourself," he bellowed, brandishing his glowing holy sword. Did the forest itself just tremble at his very voice? Suddenly, a masked assassin lunged from the high canopy. But Noah parried the strike with effortless, cold precision. The two killers stood locked in a deadly, silent stalemate. The enemy recognized the legendary blood flowing through his veins. "Tell me who sent you," Noah demanded, his patience vanishing. He would make this villain scream every secret he held. A massive explosion of light shook the entire forest floor. Their blades collided with a deafening, high-pitched metallic screech. "Is that power your demonic core?" the masked assassin hissed aloud. The young master offered only a chilling, mysterious smile. Suddenly, he shifted his stance and prepared for a decisive counter. Darius unleashed his forbidden umbral darkness-style second form. Violent red slashes tore through the air like hungry, jagged teeth. Several shadow-dark flying blades manifested around the deadly assassin. Suddenly, the crimson projectiles surged forward to claim a new victim. But would they find their mark? The hero remained eerily calm. He danced through the chaos, narrowly avoiding every lethal red edge. His eyes glowed with the cold light of tactical calculation. He activated his appraisal skill to expose his enemy's weaknesses. Darius Zahard was strong, but his swordsmanship was clearly lacking. Suddenly, the young swordsman lunged forward with explosive purple energy. He ignored the barrage, focusing entirely on closing the deadly gap. He swatted aside a massive red strike with sheer force. His foot slammed into the earth, anchoring his divine power. He spun through the air, defying gravity and the assassin's expectations. Suddenly, he pulled his blade back for a devastating final blow. Darius blocked the path, confident that he had already won. "Such an obvious attack," the villain mocked with arrogant pride. But soon, a terrifying pillar of red energy descended from above. The forest canopy trembled as the two warriors reached their limit. He whispered the name of his secret, holy demonic style. A swirling vortex of purple mana erupted from his blade. The assassin froze in utter disbelief at the sight. He swung his sword wildly, desperate to land a single hit. "Too slow!" the hero mocked as he vanished instantly. Suddenly, a deep gash tore across the assassin's chest. Blood sprayed everywhere as his heavy weapon fell to dirt. "How do you know that forbidden style?" he sputtered weakly. The hero remembered his previous life and his sister's power. With the holy demonic core, every technique was now his. Soon, he would reveal the true worth of this energy. "Tell me who sent you," he demanded with cold eyes. But the assassin snarled, refusing to accept his defeat yet. Suddenly, he pulled out a vial and swallowed the contents. The hero's eyes widened as the air turned toxic. The man's skin began to crack and bubble hideously. Sharp claws sprouted where human fingers had once been. A monstrous red eye glared through the thick shadows. In seconds, a towering green beast stood in his place. "Beastification?" the hero muttered, tightening his iron grip. The creature lunged forward with a deafening, primal roar. He raised his glowing blade to meet the frantic charge. Their powers collided, sending a massive shockwave through the forest. This monster's strength was on a completely different level. "Let's see how long you can endure," the beast howled. A massive claw descended, threatening to crush him where he stood. Suddenly, his red eye gleamed with pure, murderous malice. The beast unleashed a flurry of lethal, jagged strikes. But our hero danced through the carnage completely unscathed. The monster smashed the earth in absolute frustration. In the next moment, he soared high above the impact. Gravity seemed to lose its grip on him entirely. He landed gracefully while the creature growled in deep fury. Constant dodging was not a long-term solution for him. He gripped his blade with a cold, renewed determination. The beast mocked his power with a deafening, arrogant roar. It prepared a final strike to end the fight forever. A hidden power began to pulse rapidly. His ancient ring flared with a blinding, ethereal light. Suddenly, a massive hexagonal barrier flickered into existence. Could a mere shield withstand such overwhelming, brutal force? The monster was sent hurtling back by pure repulsion. Now, he finally had the opening he desperately needed. Forbidden energy swirled around his blade like a violet storm. The creature flailed, realizing its fatal mistake far too late. He prepared to unleash a legend's ultimate, forgotten technique. A pillar of divine light pierced the very heavens. The explosion consumed the entire battlefield in a golden flash. Silence finally returned as the hero breathed a heavy sigh. His secret artifact had worked exactly as he had planned, but his allies were still fighting elsewhere for their lives. The exhausted knight felt his strength finally fade away. Suddenly, a massive ogre swung its deadly fist toward him. Was this the end of his journey? The crushing blow stopped inches from his face. The monster froze as if time itself had simply stopped. Every soldier looked around in utter disbelief at their survival. The young master appeared through the heavy morning mist. They had survived, though they barely understood how it happened. He had captured the ones responsible for this mindless slaughter. But who could have hired such young and dangerous casters? The children lay unconscious, bound by a shimmering magical aura. Our hero watched them with a heavy, conflicted heart. He marched toward the grand mansion seeking the truth. He would not let the mastermind escape this time. An information broker named Eve held the keys to this mystery. But first, he had to find a single solid clue. Suddenly, a firm voice ordered him to stop right there. A blonde guardian blocked the entrance with a cold gaze. Two powerful warriors faced off in the quiet palace courtyard. Eve Dascour was the primary contact for the noble family. She likely knew exactly who was behind the recent attacks. The young master's bloodlust erupted like a violent storm. The guard refused to let such a dangerous man pass. He shouted that he could never trust someone so unstable. Finally, our hero gripped his sword and prepared to fight. He ignited his purple aura to force a path forward. Across from him, the blonde warrior reluctantly gripped his hilt. Suddenly, the opponent lunged with incredible speed and ferocity. Their blades collided with a deafening metallic ring. Sparks showered the ground as neither fighter gave an inch. But soon, the blonde challenger recoiled to create some distance. The air grew heavy with a strange, magical pressure. Crimson energy swirled around the opponent's outstretched hand. He slammed his palm down to summon a stone lance. Jagged spikes of earth erupted violently toward our hero. Our protagonist swung his blade to shatter the rocks. He spun through the debris with perfect, deadly grace. Suddenly, the enemy molded the earth into a crushing weapon. A massive blade made of solid stone appeared in his grip. The warrior swung the heavy pillar with terrifying strength, but our hero caught the strike on his own edge. He countered with a swift and blinding strike. The blonde fighter's eyes narrowed as he shifted his stance. A blue arc of energy sliced through the battlefield, but soon, the hero noticed the patterns in his movements. Seize Gelcor possessed high star levels, but a weak core. It was clear that the man's core was his weakness. He decided to end this duel with overwhelming power. He prepared to unleash the legendary Light Shadow Sword Dance. Suddenly, the world exploded into a blinding flash of light. As the light faded, Noah's demonic core pulsed with power. A heavy boot struck the ground with bone-shaking force. He triggered the second form of the Shadow Lightning style. Black lightning crackled, hungry for a decisive, killing blow. But our hero remained calm, analyzing every lethal movement. He remembered his master's warning about the Dascour family's speed. Suddenly, the air grew heavy with an unavoidable crimson strike. The rival mocked him, claiming real combat dictates the winner. Our hero shouted back, bracing for the coming storm. The blonde fighter lunged forward like a striking cobra. A massive wave of red energy surged across the stones. The protagonist raised his blade to deflect the impact. He roared, pouring his own purple aura into the strike. The two distinct powers collided in a spectacular, violent crash. A massive blast of heat and light vaporized the surrounding air. Thick gray smoke rolled across the ground in heavy waves. Through the mist, he emerged unscathed and ready for more. The two fighters stood apart, both breathing quite heavily now. Was it enough? His defense had almost failed him there. He realized copied techniques could never defeat a true master. He needed to create his own unique, ultimate sword style. But soon, his opponent sheathed his weapon and signaled peace. A purple-haired woman appeared, watching them from the shadows. Silence reclaimed the hallway as the violent duel finally ended. Now, they gathered to discuss the true purpose of this fight. The bodyguard spoke of the visible killing intent. Why would a Dascour ever need such protection? Quietly, she confessed her own weakness in battle. This succession struggle was not her fight to win. Suddenly, she mentioned the secrets of the hired assassins. How could she possibly know his hidden thoughts? She smirked, claiming there was little she missed. But every secret comes with a heavy price. A trade was proposed between two calculating minds. She asked about the legendary Infinite Library. It was a massive labyrinth of forgotten wisdom. Savage monsters lurked within its darkest corners. She demanded the ancient book of eternal depths. His eyes widened at the mention of it. This theory had revolutionized magic in his past, yet the world had still crumbled away. Obtaining it now could change their fate. A firm handshake sealed their dangerous pact. But soon, the carriage wheels began to turn. Even his lively maids couldn't break his focus. Finally, the towers of Arcanum rose high. He stepped onto the hard city stones. No one ever returns from that maze alive! He paused, steeling his heart for the trial. He vanished into the shadows, but danger lurked. The grand manor basked in deceptive morning light. Inside, Lady Eve enjoyed a quiet moment of tea. Suddenly, the butler announced an unexpected visitor. A familiar presence stepped into the room. "I have questions about Noah!" the visitor remarked playfully. Eve remained cold, her gaze fixed on her cup. Tension filled the air as they sat opposite each other. "It is quite rare for you to visit me," she noted. He leaned back, wanting to borrow her hidden strength. He asked why her usual protector was absent. A wicked grin formed when he realized she was alone. Unfazed, she claimed her subordinates were more than enough. The siblings stared, a psychological battle unfolding. He spoke of the incredible power Noah recently displayed. I must know the secret behind his sudden strength. Eve realized just how much he had been spying. She set her tea down with a sharp click. She refused to join his messy struggle for succession. Behind her eyes, she saw the brothers clash in blades. Choosing a side would only bring more bloodshed. His expression darkened. Was he finished? No. What could you possibly offer me for such a risk? He simply chuckled, his teeth flashing in the light. A terrifying shadow loomed over her, eyes glowing red. High above, the great tower watched over the brewing storm. Noah marched through the sunlit, bustling market streets. He stopped before a quiet shop tucked away in the shadows. The bell chimed as he pushed the heavy door open. Inside, strange blue bottles sat atop dusty, dark wooden shelves. The weary owner appeared and claimed he was closed. Noah didn't want tools, he needed a guide instead. Osrek snapped, refusing to take on any more dangerous jobs. He laughed bitterly, mocking the idea of being the best. This was strange, the old Osrek never turned down a client. Is there a specific reason for this sudden change of heart? Suddenly, the man slammed his fist down with explosive rage. His eyes betrayed a deep pain he could no longer hide. He apologized, admitting his nerves were completely shot lately. The shop bell rang again, breaking the heavy silence. A familiar, powerful presence stepped inside, catching them off guard. It was Julia, standing tall with a stoic and elegant gaze. She admitted to tailing him, much to Noah's immediate annoyance. Osrek froze, recognizing the legendary name of Julia Dascour. The shopkeeper grabbed Noah's shoulder with desperate urgency. He agreed to the job, but only if Julia joined them. Noah realized a dark secret lurked behind those closed doors. Come with me, Osrek whispered, leading them to the back. There, they found a woman lying motionless on a small bed. A month ago, a monster's curse had stolen her very spirit. Now, her life withered away inside a deep, eternal sleep. The only way to save her was killing the caster. The desperate husband begged Julia to save his dying wife. But Julia suddenly dragged Noah into this dangerous mission. She wanted to witness his true fighting skills firsthand. Noah felt insulted that she dared to doubt his strength. They sought Osrek to guide them through the labyrinth. The guide accepted the task with a fiery, confident shout. They arrived at the base of the massive, looming tower. Suddenly, Julia whispered that she knew Noah had a secret. She remembered a strange power blocking her during their duel. She planned to uncover his hidden truth inside the maze. But soon, their guide appeared with all the necessary supplies. The trio marched toward the entrance of the mystical structure. They entered the busy hall to register for their descent. Osrek confirmed only 3 of them would enter the trial. Bystanders whispered that Osrek's companions were merely fresh victims. Finally, they stood before the doors of the infinite library. Osrek placed his hands against the cold, heavy stone gates. A blinding light exploded from within as the doors opened. They stepped forward into the unknown, swirling mist of magic. The vast library stretched endlessly before their very eyes. Julia marveled at the sheer scale of the ancient knowledge. But suddenly, Noah's eyes widened in pure, unfiltered shock. A massive mural depicted the terrifying invaders from another time. This place held a dark connection to a future catastrophe. The warrior clashed with the colossal Crimson Knight. He set his sights on a legendary forbidden tome. They ventured deep into the silent, infinite rows of books. But the guide warned of dangers on the lowest floor. Nobody had ever managed to survive that far down. Suddenly, a radiant magic circle erupted beneath their feet. They stepped forward as ancient energy pulsed through the air. Monstrous guardians materialized from the light, weapons drawn. Was the hero intimidated? Not in the slightest. He gripped his hilt and prepared for immediate slaughter. A blinding golden arc sliced through the heavy silence. In an instant, the beast crumbled into nothingness. The guide stood frozen while the party moved on. They reached another floor, a sprawling tower of knowledge. Every shelf held secrets waiting to be unearthed. But soon, they entered a dark, unexplored corridor. A hidden shortcut glowed before them like a sapphire star. Together, they gathered within the center of the sigil. The ground rumbled as the magic began to hum. Suddenly, a flash of pure white light blinded them all. The hero's eyes sharpened, sensing the shift in reality. They arrived just before the plaza leading toward the abyss. This meant the deadliest monsters were lurking just ahead. A final, glowing sigil marked the path to the end. Tension filled the air. Could they survive the coming floor? Suddenly, colossal black roots erupted from the ground with violent force. A monstrous Elder Trent towered over them, staring with multiple eyes. The guide trembled. This place was supposed to be easier. However, the silver-haired warrior remained completely unfazed by the threat. The guide warned that even elite parties would struggle here. She smirked. Was he actually joking? I am more than enough alone, she declared boldly. She blurred into motion, charging straight at the beast. Dark tentacles lashed out, trying to crush the tiny intruder instantly, but she danced between the strikes with impossible grace and speed. She closed the distance. Her blade was ready for wood. A powerful slash landed, but the creature's hide was incredibly dense. Sparks flew as her sword met the steel-hard bark. She realized basic attacks wouldn't finish this quickly. The guide screamed that a normal sword could never pierce it. Suddenly, thick vines snaked around her limbs, pinning her down. The monster tightened its grip, intending to snap her bones. It roared in victory. Was it over? No! Sister! The young boy cried out in absolute terror for her, but a strange, dark power began radiating from the trapped warrior. "Shadow Flame style, ultimate form!" she whispered amidst the chaos. She emerged transformed, clad in legendary armor of dark flames. The boy watched in awe at her incredible hidden strength. "Shadow Flame style, initial form!" she commanded, raising her weapon. Her strike exploded. Everything burned. The massive tree monster loomed with its many glowing eyes. But she charged back in, her red aura flaring with rage. She unleashed a blinding arc of sheer destruction upward. Suddenly, twisted vines lunged from the shadows to ensnare her. She didn't flinch, swinging her blade with lethal precision. The jagged branches crumbled under the weight of her power. With one final strike, the massive trunk was severed completely. She walked away calmly. No steel could stop her. Suddenly, the merchant screamed a warning that froze the air. A hidden vine snaked out and tightly gripped her ankle. In an instant, a dozen more coils wrapped around her body. But she simply smiled. It regenerates unless completely burned away. The wooden mass swallowed her whole into a suffocating tomb. Our hero watched, recognizing the legendary Shadow Flame style. He grabbed the merchant's hand to pull him away. "Hurry!" he shouted as a violent heat began to pulse. Inside the darkness, her eyes ignited with a hellish red glow. The Shadow Flame explosive burial erupted in a roar. They sprinted through the halls while the world turned crimson. A wall of fire swept past them like a crashing wave. They collapsed, panting for air amidst the settling ash. From the inferno, a lone silhouette emerged through the haze. She looked perfectly fine, asking if they should move forward. Had she really done this all by herself? Its power was truly beyond any story he had ever heard. The small group ventured deeper into the mysterious hall. They finally arrived at the archives of the upper floor. Suddenly, a sharp glint caught the hero's eye. Finally, the legendary tome was in his hands. But their tragic mission was far from over. A dangerous exception lurked within these dusty halls. They moved cautiously through the narrow, silent aisles. Murals depicted ancient legends of giant slayers. He grabbed a volume bound in dark leather. A chilling voice whispered that it had found him. Rapidly, he flipped through the forgotten secrets. Cold sweat dripped as the atmosphere changed. They drew their sharp blades instantly. A monstrous knight in cursed armor suddenly appeared. The man screamed in rage at his wife's tormentor. The beast radiated an aura of pure slaughter. In the next moment, he charged to end the nightmare.